Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Draven supplementary guide, and today we're going to be talking about Draven with Lethal Tempo. Now I have to say that over the years of playing Draven, personally, Lethal Tempo is generally my most preferred rune for Draven. Do I think it's the best? Probably not. I think that Press the Attack and Conquer are better runes than Lethal Tempo, but personally, I feel like when you play Lethal Tempo on Draven, it just feels so smooth because you get all of the extra attack speed. Now of course, this does mean you lose out on a lot of damage, especially in lane from PTA and in late game team fights or just in longer fights in general from Conquer. But of course, you could argue that Conquer and Lethal Tempo are kind of comparable in the sense that they both stack up to the same number of stacks. Of course, Conquer stacks up generally faster because you can stack it on your abilities as well. But with Conquer, you get, of course, more AD and more physical event, whereas with Lethal Tempo, you get more attack speed. So, attack speed is also always a good thing for Draven, or like most ADCs in general. So, it is kind of, you can kind of really choose what you want, and Draven does work with all three of these runes, and he always has been. Ever since his release, at the time he released, Lethal Tempo wasn't even a rune yet. But when Lethal Tempo came out, and when Kraken Slayer came out, pretty much Draven always had viable runes in the sense of Conquer, Lethal Tempo, and Kraken Slayer. Or now in the case of Kraken Slayer being replaced, it's PTA. Lethal Tempo as well as Conquer. So what I'm essentially saying is that all of them work, and it's kind of like which one you prefer. But I think objectively, PTA is probably the best one. Anyways, let's just get straight into it. The build is not too complicated. It's exactly the same as the Draven build that I use in all of my other videos, so I'm not going to spend too much time on talking about that. You go for Gluttonous Greaves, early Omnivamp, and AD. Of course, first item Bloodthirster, lots of AD, physical vamp, as well as bonus stats when you're high on health. We have IE for the additional crit damage as well as just generally good stats. Of course, getting IE second item means your 50% crit rate, and half the time when you crit, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. And then we go for Blaster as our third item. Now this is mostly for the range, but you also get attack speed, which is pretty nice. That extra range with one Draven auto can chunk out especially squishy targets a lot, and you will see that in the gameplay later. Of course, we have Mole Reminder for the Armor Pen as well as the Grievous Wounds, as well as putting us to 100% crit. And the last item generally is going to be GA for the Revive, or sometimes you have Maw against heavy magic damage teams, or we have Starex for the shield if you like that. Now you can swap out the Blaster for the Solari Charge Blade, although I think Blaster is better in 80% of situations. But sometimes if you need a little bit of mixed damage, like where your team is lacking AP, Charge Blade can come in handy there. Now, as mentioned for the runes, Lethal Tempo for the attack speed, Brutal of course because we auto attack a lot. Giant Slayer generally has the most value here because generally enemy team always has a couple champions building health. And seeing as we don't really need attack speed anymore, we're going to go for Bloodline here for even more Omnivamp. And I like to go for Bone Plating here. This is very important for Draven, especially because in early game, trades and all-ins, Bone Plating can be the difference between dying and killing, which of course for Draven is very crucial. And of course with that same sentiment, Exhaust is very important for Draven as well, and of course Flash. But with all that said, let's talk about the gameplay. Okay, so here we have the gameplay. Now, of course, with Draven, you generally want an aggressive support. And what I mean by that is generally you want an engager because you want to get early kills and you want to snowball. And engagers are going to, of course, help you do that the best because they can lock someone down for you to, of course, kill. Now, in this case, we have a Maokai support. And, yeah, this was the pre-nerf Maokai. So, this gameplay was from 5.1c. But here, for some reason, Lux is face-checking into the bush. Force the flash immediately because Lucian is nowhere near, and if Maokai procs Glacial on her, and we just run her down with that Glacial slow, she's just gonna die instantly for first blood. So really good flash by the Lux there. I say good because she recognized that she needed to flash, but in reality it's kind of bad because she just face checked the bush and had to blow her flash, which basically means that she's very vulnerable. If Maokai gets engaged level 2 onto her, she's probably dead. And Lucian even has a barrier in this game. And this was pre-buff barrier, so that's a little bit weird. So here comes the flash from the Maokai into the engage, but Lux gets pushed away, so I'm attacking Draven instead. Draven blows flash this time, and Lux blows heal. So basically the only summoner spell left at this point is the barrier on Draven, and that somehow hit me. But anyway, anyways, this is an incredibly advantageous position for us, because 1 minute into the game, we've basically blown almost all of the enemy team summoner spells. So couldn't go very much better than that. Here we're just walking up a little bit aggressively to get some damage down. Here, Lux gets engaged on. This is what I was referring to. No flash for Lux, just gets run down even though she's relatively near the tower, and we get a nice 150 gold cash-in. So now we're just going to continue, you know, getting the stacks again. Here a fight is breaking out, so we're just rotating to try to help out. Nice knock-up by the Nunu, flashing over the wall here to get the kill onto Draven. We get the kill, another cash-in. Now here, a little bit awkward because Amumu is really tanky. We have Maokai tanking the tower. Maokai dies, does secure the kill, and then Nunu tanks the tower instead, and then Nunu dies as well. That tower shot did a bunch of damage to the Nunu, probably because it already started stacking up its damage onto the Maokai. So anyways, with those 2 kills and 2 assists in the bag, we're gonna get off a pretty nice reset. We get the Gluttonous Greaves as well as a Vamp Scepter, lots of AD and lots of Vamp right off of the first buy, and we have like basically double of the Draven's gold by this point. Not double Draven's gold, double the Lucian's gold. And take note that here the enemy team still has no summoner spells because their flashes have not yet come back up, so they are very vulnerable to another Maokai engage. Speaking of which, Maokai goes in. Lucian's kind of stuck in no man's land. However, he does manage to dash away. Either which way, we still get off a really decent chunk of damage, and they are still in a very sticky situation. Lux Flash comes back up, and Lucian Flash is gonna come up soon, so we're kind of the window for killing them easily is kind of closing. Either way, I'm gonna run up, get that free auto onto the Lux. I mean, we do take an E in return, but our auto does more damage than the E, so that's still considered a pretty good trade. And just continue to CS, keep up our double spinning axes to ensure that we're ready to fight. Now here Lux has no mana whatsoever, so we're definitely looking to fight because Lux is basically useless since she has no mana whatsoever. She can't do a thing with no mana, of course, so she probably has to recall, but she is not recalling. I think she might have enough mana for like 1 spell at this point, but she is definitely in trouble. Twisted Fate is ulting to bot, so we know that he's not going to interfere with our play. Amumu is also on the other side of the map, so now it's definitely time to go in on them if we ever want to. Here Maokai does go in. I'm gonna pop the ulti. Does hit the Lux, and we do get the cash in onto the Lux. Now Lucian is going to be the next target. He pops the culling. Maokai goes in and tanks the tower. Lucian is pretty low, 1 HP. We do eventually get the kill on him and barely escape with our life, but pretty clean dive from me and Maokai. In general, could have been a little bit better in terms of trading tower aggro and committing to the dive, things like that. Because I did back off from the dive a little bit, but Maokai went deep in, so a little bit of a miscommunication on that one. And also, Maokai probably could have tanked an additional tower shot, because I nearly died from that tower shot, and Maokai wouldn't have died from that tower shot. So, not the cleanest dive, but overall, we did get the positive outcome of us both surviving and me getting both of the kills. So 4-0-2 at this point. The snowball is really beginning here, and Maokai is coming up from the riverside, trying to cut them off and go in on them. And yeah, they both have no summoner spells again, so if we go in now, it's probably going to be a kill. You can see one auto does like 1/3 of Lux's HP bar, which is completely insane. Lux used the shield, so she's going to be vulnerable, as well as Lucian for the next little bit. We already have Bloodthirster completed, so we do a chunk of damage. Just look at that, 1 more auto, 2 more autos. She's like 1 HP at this point. Now we're focusing Lucian, who gets locked down by Maokai. They're both 1 HP, so I'm just going to flash forward, go for them. Now I'm tanking the tower, so I am going to eventually die. But my ulti manages to pick up the kill onto the Lux. Now if we played that a little better, I could have gotten Maokai to go in and tank, and I might have survived instead of me just splashing into the tower and dying like that. But overall, it is still not the worst in the world. We did still get both of the kills. Lux does get the shutdown though, but even with that shutdown, she's only just on par with the Lucian, so not really too big of a problem overall. Nunu goes into the snowball. Amumu is now coming in with the ulti. Maokai really low, but does have the passive to heal up a little bit. And Amumu is flashing away. Maokai and Nunu both really low. I'm making it back off of my respawn, and Amumu bandage tosses on top of me, which probably was meant for the Maokai instead of myself, but either way, kind of works out because Amumu has no escape from me. Now here I'm a little bit low. I'm just going to lifesteal off of these minions by shoving them in. Morgana is in the area as well, so this might be a dive angle, but Morgana is not really doing anything. She's not even positioning aggressively enough to really do a dive, so I'm not quite sure what Morgana is really doing here. It's not like she's farming the Krugs or anything, so I really don't know what she's doing. She in the end just ends up recalling Here I get off an auto onto Lux. You can see how much damage that actually does. So even just getting off an auto or two really hurts at this point. So if you can find an angle to just land one auto and just get out of tower, that is, you know, always going to be, you know, worth it. It's going to be a good trade for you, things like that. So here again, we're just lifestealing off of the minions. My Maokai is on vision in mid lane, so I don't want to play overly aggressive here because they know that Maokai is not with me because he can be seen on the minion wave. Maokai coming back up to top now. Now Lux is actually mid lane, so Lucian is actually alone. So might be a possible angle to go in on Lucian. Looks like that bush is warded, so Maokai is spotted, so a little bit thwarted in terms of the possible dive or something like that. Now Amumu and Lux are making their way in. Fortunately, Maokai is the one getting focused. I get off the ult in the choke point. I'm trying to DPS down the Amumu, get stunned by the ulti, but Amumu does end up dying eventually. Now, I'm pretty low, but I do have my Bloodthirster to heal me up in the long fight, which is basically what I'm doing here. I'm just catching my axes and just, you know, lifestealing my way back. Now, Lucian is going to die, decides to die to the tower, and donates the kill to the Morgana, which is pretty smart because Morgana is obviously not as deadly as a Draven. Like, if you get a super duper fed Morgana, like, you probably would be a little bit scared, but not as scared as you have a very fed Draven. So definitely the right thing to do there for Lucian. If you know you're gonna die anyway, you might as well give the kill to the person who, you know, needs the gold less. Right, so here, now we're gonna rotate to mid since Morgana is at top. Maokai goes in on Twisted Fate. Just for a little bit of poke damage. We're gonna start working on the mid lane tower in terms of taking it down real soon. Nearly missed both X catchers there. I haven't played Draven in months, by the way, so if you see me like missing axes and stuff, it is of course natural. I'm really rusty on Draven. Haven't played Draven since the last Draven video I made on like Conqueror Draven, which was a long time ago. So yeah, Lucian's not one of those champions that I play. Not Lucian. Draven's not one of those champions that I play very often. Nice Maokai out from downtown is gonna root both of them, and here just gonna get rid of them. Flashing forward to close the gap there. I get the cash in onto Lux. I have a lot of stacks at that point, so that cash in gave me more gold than the kill itself. I got 364 gold from the cash in. The kill was I think 350 or something like that. So double the value there, and that's the nature of Draven passive, of course. That's how it works. So yeah, I'm really starting to snowball. I'm at 10k gold already, and if you look at some other people, we can see that Lux is only at like 5k, and our RUNE, who's 0-3, is not even at 5k. So I literally have doubled the goal of like some people on the team. You could, on both teams, you could say. I mean, RUNE plus Lux combined is basically less than my goal. So you kind of get the idea of how fed I really am. 8, 1, and 5 at the moment. I get the Magnetic Blaster at this point. 3 full items completed. However, my team is in a fight without me, so that's a little bit dangerous. Because of course I'm the bulk of my team's damage. And if you take me away from the team and take Lucian away from the team, which is what's happening here, I believe that any team is actually stronger because, you know, most of my team's gold lead is on me. I mean, my team has like a 4k gold lead, and I have like a 4k gold lead on Lucian. So basically my team's gold lead is basically me. So if they fight without me, that's never going to be a good thing. Obviously because, you know, then basically my team has no lead. Speaking of which, Maokai is taking a chunk of damage from the enemy team, and we're gonna come in and, you know, finish off the Yasuo. Now Amumu stuck behind the wall. I don't really want to fight Amumu right at the wolf pit because that's a really dangerous spot to be in. I spot Lucian, get a auto off. As I mentioned, if you can get an auto off, it does a lot of damage, so you always want to try to get those free autos. And Maokai goes in onto Lux. Lux is taking a bunch of damage. I don't know why my last few autos did so little damage there, but yeah, I was like, almost like two-shot her, and then suddenly my last 2 autos did like no damage. I have no idea what happened there. Maybe it was the glacial. Actually, she doesn't have glacial, so I really don't know how I suddenly did no damage. Speaking of which, speaking of damage, I'm getting caught here, but I end up doing so much damage that I managed to trade the kill onto Lucian before I actually die. Amumu eventually gets the kill on me and picks up the shutdown. This is a full AP Amumu, by the way. Has Leandries, has the Infinity Orb. So he is like, he has the most gold on the enemy team with 10k gold, and it's not even close. Like, everyone else on his team is like 7+k gold except Lux, who's a support. So Amumu is kind of like the main carry of their team, ironically. So here I pick up the QSS because I'm realizing that, you know, the bandage tosses and the Curse of the Sad Mummies are becoming a problem. Have gotten caught by that multiple times. Hasn't always lead to me dying, but it's really annoying to just get caught in CC. Of course, stuns are able to be cleansed by the QSS, so we're just going to quickly pick that up. And also we have Twisted Fate and Lux with their respective forms of CC as well, so very high value QSS game in this case, so always going to be a good buy. So just quickly wave clearing in the mid lane. Don't really know where the enemies are at this point, but honestly I obviously can 1v1 anyone and probably even 1v2 in most instances, unless it's like Amumu plus someone. That might be a little bit difficult with Amumu CC to lock me down. But anyways, we can see Amumu and Twisted Fate at the top lane. So here I'm actually just focusing the mid lane tower. Lux and Lucian do show up to defend, and Lucian culls the wave down. They are kind of chasing us for some reason, which isn't really a good idea. If they continue chasing, we can just actually turn on them, which they don't. Wisely, they don't. So here I'm just going to secure the Skull Crab here to ensure that we have Baron vision. Twisted Fate ult is active, so we're not going to just start out the Baron, even though we probably can. Just because, you know, we can easily be spotted if we do so, and that's no good. Here I'm just going to get mid lane priority. And looks like a couple of enemies are on the bottom side of the map, so we might want to just go there to you know, put a stop to them or things like that. So here red buff is up. You can see a kind of a mini fight, kind of just breaking on the enemy jungle, letting my Nunu take the red buff so I can get the share. But yeah, Baron is the only objective up at the moment, and I honestly think that we can probably force the Baron. As long as my team protects me, you know, we should be able to win any team fight. The only real threat that I have on me is basically just Amumu one-shotting me, which is a real possibility. So we're trying to avoid that if we can. And here Lux actually gets caught, but does catch us as well. I'm gonna avoid the Lux ulti, and here Yasuo ends up getting caught. I don't know where his wind wall went because I was just free-hitting onto them and no wind wall ever came, so I'm able to basically just one-shot the Yasuo, who is building tank, by the way. He does have a heart steal, and he does have grasp, so it's definitely a tank Yasuo build. Now here I get rid of the Amumu, who used all his spells onto the Nunu, and this could be a possible angle for Baron with two of the enemies eliminated, especially the jungle gone. But you know, as usual, general solo queue shenanigans. Nunu goes to clear the wave, and my team is picking a fight without me and Nunu in the top lane. Here, instead of picking up my Mole Reminder, I actually get a Maw instead, because I'm starting to realize that Mole Reminder not that useful considering that there's not a lot of tankiness on the enemy team, whereas Maw counters Amumu, counters Twisted Fate, as well as Lux, so Maw is really high value in this game. So not only do I decide to go for Maw, I decide to go for Maw early. Now Yasuo is tank Yasuo, so as you can see, he doesn't actually burst me that quickly. He does, however, have a wind wall which blocks my damage, which means that I can't lifesteal, so he does eventually get the kill onto me. So a little bit of a overextension on my part, which is, of course, you know, a big mistake for me. Especially when you're the bulk of your team damage, you never want to be overextending and dying like what I did just there. Especially not when the third dragon is spawning and Baron is up. That could be a fatal mistake in some games, but thankfully my team is able to cover up for my mistakes and trade 2 kills back as well. So 2 deaths on both sides means that the current map state is relatively even. And now the last dragon is up. Nunu is trying to go for it, but the enemy team is possibly, I should say, on Baron now. Here, Nunu comes to actually check that, but unfortunately he runs straight into all the 3 enemies who are alive, and he basically gets one shot through the gargoyles and etc. So now we have an awkward situation where the dragon is up, and it's really hard for us to really contest it. But here Lux overextends, I get free kill onto her, and I'm focusing on Mumu, who is the jungle. We get a kill on him as well. We're gonna ignore the dragon for a little bit and go for the rest of the enemy team. We can get rid of them first. We get a triple kill here, nearly a quadra, I believe. And the last guy, Lucian, is running for the hill. So I'm kind of hunting for him a little bit here. But he ends up running to who knows where. It might be in that little bush at the top, actually. But if he was, you definitely recall in time because the Morgana does not hit the binding. So anyways, we get the dragon and we pick up the Ocean Soul. And meanwhile, me and Morgana pick up the tower. Lucian is alive, gets hit by the Morgana root, and basically gets one shot by me. I mean, it's not really one shot, but I kill him before the root duration expires, so it's just as good as getting one shot. I think the best Draven can ever do is to 2-shot someone, like with 2 auto attacks, just kill them instantly. But I don't think I've ever like killed someone in 1 auto attack. I mean, if that was possible, that would be completely busted. But anyways, now with the top lane inhib secured, we turn our attention to mid, but the NEC respawns, so we're going to back off just a little bit. Maokai goes in, Yeah, Yasuo wind wall does not really come out, so we kind of need to play around the Yasuo wind wall. He might be like not doing a lot of damage and not very tanky, but the wind wall still provides a ton of value. Since if it gets caught here, one auto is enough to finish him off based on the amount of health he has left. And Lux gets caught with the root again. We finish her off again. And only Amumu and Yasuo are left alive. Lucian actually just respawns, so Lucian's alive too. We're pretty much at full health, lifesteal off of the minions, and we take down the tower. And yeah, we're just free hitting on whoever is there. Basically, this case the Yasuo. Yasuo does take a couple autos to take down because he does have that Heartsteel with some stacks. And we're now just living in the enemy base. Last tower is up there, and we're gonna try to get rid of it. One auto, one solution. That's a third of his health. With of course that the magnetic blaster. Now here, Maokai comes in. I ult the Lucian who's rooted, but he does live on 1 HP, which is a tad unfortunate. I thought that would actually kill him with how much damage I have now, but unfortunately not the case. We are, however, going to have enough damage to kill the tower, and this gives us triple inhib. Now Elder Dragon is going to be spawning in half a minute, so we're probably just going to reset and go Elder Dragon and then just finish the game. Because it's a little bit hard to force the end right in the enemy base, so we get full build with our Maul Reminder, which we could have gone quite some time ago, and we're going to reset. And instead of going to Elder Dragon, my team is actually doing Baron, so I'm just going to run straight over to Baron. Now Baron is actually the way better objective for us, because we've got all 3 inhibs, so even if the enemy team picks up Elder Dragon, which they probably should be focusing Elder Dragon now, and we get Baron, it's actually a good trade for us, because even with Elder Dragon on the enemy team, they don't necessarily have to or want to fight us. Like, my team can simply just push with the Baron and end the game. We don't necessarily have to fight them. But even so, we do pick a fight with them, and they are losing the fight. They actually split off. The bot lane goes back to base, and Amumu and as well as Yasuo are trying to make a last stand here. Now Yasuo already used ulti, so he doesn't have it for me. We're gonna finish off Yasuo. I go godlike. Only the bot lane is left alive, and the enemy team honestly made a mistake by not being coordinated. They either should have all run to base, or they should have all fought. Now the fact that half of them ran and half of them fought means that we are able to pick a odd numbered fight where 5 of us were able to focus them down, flashing over to get the kill onto the Lux. Lucian is the last man alive again, and there's really not a lot that he can do. We're simply going to focus the base and end the game. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. You can see the insane Draven carry stats. Of course, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.